Welcome back to tonight's broadcast, A Place for Stories. I'm Sergio Dominguez, and tonight we continue reading my original novel, What Would I Do Without You? If you're new to the story, I recommend starting with chapter 1 so you can experience Isaac's and Aaron's journey from the very beginning. In the last chapter, Aaron finally opens up to Isaac about everything that had been weighing on him. The two friends begin rebuilding the bond that had been tested over the past several months, and for the first time in a long while, life seemed to be returning to normal. But as one chapter closes, another quietly begins. Sometimes the biggest changes don't arrive with a warning. They begin with something small, a conversation, an absence, a moment that seems unimportant at the time. Let's continue their story. This is What Would I Do Without You? Chapter 9, Part 1. Spring semester of junior year started off well enough. A new juice bar opened up about 4 blocks from school, and it became a thing for us to hang out there on Fridays after school. James, Mary, Melissa, Sam, Aaron, and I always had a fantastic time. I can't say that high school as a whole was a great time for me or us. Rather, it was our friendship that made it worthwhile. We all got along so well. One Friday, as I was walking past the principal's office after school, I saw Chris standing there talking to her. I wonder if he is in trouble or something, I thought to myself. But my instincts told me that it was something else. I decided to hang around outside the office and wait for Chris to come out. Hey, everything okay? I asked as I walked up behind him. He turned to look at me. Chris didn't say anything as we stared at each other. In an instant, his eyes began to water and tears began to fall. He did an about face and started walking away in embarrassment. As I ran up to him, put my hand on his shoulder, and said, "Stop. What's wrong, Chris?" But he shrugged out of my grasp and kept walking. "Chris, wait up. What's wrong?" I called out as I picked up my pace and caught up to him. He turned to me and said, "I can't talk right now. I need to get to the hospital fast. I have to catch Roger before he leaves so he can give me a ride." "I'll take you. Let's go," I told him as I matched his pace. I guess his mom is not feeling well, I thought to myself. Without a word, he ascended by walking to the passenger door of my car. "Hold on, Chris. I need to wait for Aaron so I can tell him that I will be late to the juice bar," I said as I suddenly remembered my plans. "No, it can't wait. I need to go now." His yell scared me. Startled, I gasped, then said, "Okay, get in." I unlocked the car, and we both jumped in. As I was driving out of the parking lot, I spotted Aaron heading towards it. His face took on a surprised look as he saw us pass by. With my hands up to my ear, I mouthed to him, "I will call you tonight." The hospital was less than 15 minutes away from school. As I drove, I felt that I had to say something to break the sad silence. "What happened, Chris? Is your mom not feeling well?" I glanced at him, and he didn't say anything. All I could see were tears falling from his eyes. His face was full of emotion. He was trying to talk, but his crying wouldn't let him. With one hand on the steering wheel, I reached over to put my free hand on his shoulder. "It's going to be okay, bro. You'll see. Once we get there, I am sure she will be feeling better." Although I was mature for my age, I was naive about diseases and death. The situation was worse than I could understand, and my attempt at support was probably silliness to Chris. Still, he seemed calm as he explained the worst thing he could ever experience. "She is going to die, Isaac. My dad called the school to tell the principal to give me the message. He wanted me to head straight to the hospital after class because mom isn't going to make it. He wants to make sure that I see her before she dies. She's going to die, Isaac." His body was racked with sobs. I was trying to drive safely, but I could see that he held his face in his hands. I didn't know what to do, and I could not stop looking at him. I was completely speechless for the first time since reaching puberty, so I decided to speed up. My mind was blank, and I gave in to simply driving fast and listening to him sob. And as we neared the hospital, I started to cry with him. He told me to drop him off at the entrance, but I parked instead. By this time, Chris had calmed down a little. And, as he tried to collect himself before getting out of the car, he said, "Thanks for the ride." "Hey, wait up," I said as I threw the car in park. "I'm coming with you. I'm not going to leave you alone." I jumped out of the car and caught up with him at the entrance. She's on the third floor, he gasped as we approached the elevator and pressed the button to go up. I realized that the elevator would take too long, so I said, "Fuck that. Let's run up the stairs." I followed him as we took 2 steps at a time. Our friendship at the time was practically non-existent, but still, I couldn't leave him alone. We had been friends for too long. Chris's father was standing out in the hallway when we reached the third floor. He walked over to us when he saw us coming through the door. He was crying himself. "Let's go see your mother," he sobbed as he patted Chris hard on the back. Mr. Rodriguez turned to look at me, but I put my hands up and said, "I will wait here, sir." With his arms around Chris, they turned towards the room and went in. As the door slowly closed behind them, I could see a few nurses and a doctor standing by her bed. All that was left to do was wait. I paced the hallway for what seemed like an hour, waiting for Chris or Mr. Rodriguez to come out. I heard the elevator door open and saw a priest holding a small vial of holy water. He searched the room numbers until he spotted Chris's mother's room. He walked in. A few minutes later, the priest, Chris, and Mr. Rodriguez finally came out of the room. Chris was holding his face in his hands, sobbing. Mr. Rodriguez took him into his arms and said, "It will be all right, son. We will be okay." Mr. Rodriguez thanked the priest as he made to leave. I was frozen in my spot. Was that it? Was she gone? I wondered. I must have been about 8 to 10 feet away from Chris and his father, and I couldn't make myself get close to them. My question was answered when the nurses and the doctor walked out to give Chris and his father their condolences. Chris was still crying in his arms, and all Mr. Rodriguez said was, "Thank you for all that you did." I could see tears in the nurses' eyes as they walked past me. After a long while, Chris calmed down and was able to separate from his father. They walked towards me, but Chris looked at the ground as he was guided by his dad. "Isaac, thank you for bringing Chris." "You don't need to thank me, Mr. Rodriguez. Is there anything else that I can do for you and Chris?" I asked as an idea popped in my head. "You know what? I will go and get some dinner for both of you. Are you going home?" "Yes, I just have to sign a few papers before we leave," he said distractedly. "Okay, sir. I will meet you at your house with food," I said eagerly. As soon as the words came out of my mouth, I checked myself to calm down. "No, you don't have to do that, son," Mr. Rodriguez said as he placed his hand on my shoulder. "It's no trouble. I don't mind. I want to do this for you," I replied as I looked over at Chris. He looked to the ground, almost defeated. "I appreciate it," he whispered, choked back tears. I was on the verge of tears myself. By the time I got to Chris's house with some Taco Bell, it had been an hour since I had left the hospital. Chris and his father were also barely arriving. It must have taken a while to get everything straightened out, I thought. I parked my car next to theirs, got out with 2 bags of food in my hand, and followed them into the house. No one spoke as we walked in. Chris went into his room, so I followed Mr. Rodriguez into the kitchen. "How is he holding up, sir?" I ventured, immediately feeling so terrible for asking about his son when he himself was probably dying inside. "He isn't doing very well. He needs time. It's fresh," he said as he leaned against the counter and looked away from me. I felt so bad being there, but I just couldn't leave them alone. "I'm gonna go check on Chris," I said. "Go ahead. Maybe you can convince him to have something to eat," he sighed as he stared at the bags of food. I smiled in response to his request, not really knowing what I could say or do. Chris's door was slightly open as I walked up to it. I knocked a few times before I pushed it open. "Can I come in?" I asked as I stuck my head in first. I found Chris sitting at the edge of his bed with a blank look on his face, staring at the ground. He looked so lost, as if he didn't even know where he was. "You want to eat something? I brought food," I asked him. He didn't answer. "Look, I feel really bad for you. I don't know what to do. Tell me what you need so I can help you," I said as I took a seat next to him and placed my hand on his back. "She's gone, Isaac. That's it. She's gone. My mother is gone. It really hurts. It feels like part of my heart was torn out." He bent over and covered his face with his hands and started crying again. I got down to his level and hugged him. As I held him, I remembered the day I met her that very first day of school. the day I met Chris. His mom was so nice. Even now, I can still see her in my mind. She was so beautiful with her long, dark brown hair and hazel eyes. Just a beautiful woman with a warm, welcoming smile. After a couple of minutes, I had an idea. Hey, I'm going to call my parents and tell them that I'm going to stay the night with you. Is that okay? Would you like for me to stay? He never looked at me, but only nodded his head, letting me know he agreed. I cleared my throat as I walked into the kitchen because Mr. Rodriguez was sitting at the kitchen table staring out the window. The food hadn't been touched yet. The bags were still closed and sitting in the same place I had left them. May I call my parents? Chris said he was okay with me staying the night. Is that all right with you? I asked him, but got no response. He was in another world because it took him a while to realize that I was talking to him. Mr. Rodriguez, I'm sorry. Are you going to eat? I can serve you a plate if you like. He finally turned to me and mumbled, I'm really not hungry. Any luck getting Chris to come and eat something? He asked, looking concerned. No, sir. He is still pretty upset. I was actually going to use your phone to call my parents. I asked Chris if he would like for me to stay the night. He said yes, I repeated. That's a good idea. That way Chris isn't alone. He is lucky to have you as a friend. His voice wavered as he spoke. He turned his attention back to what he was previously looking at while I picked up the phone. It took a little convincing for my parents to let me sleep over. They thought it would be better to give Chris and his father some space. But after I told them that Chris asked me to stay, they finally agreed. After hanging up the phone, I joined Mr. Rodriguez at the table because I was hungry and felt bad for him. I caught his attention as I grabbed a taco out of the bag, and soon after, Mr. Rodriguez joined me. After swallowing his first bite, he broke the shared silence by saying, I know the friendship between you and my son took a turn after you guys started high school, so I really appreciate what you are doing for us right now. He sighed again and continued. My wife and I met this Roger kid that he's been hanging out with. We weren't impressed. We actually talked about you a while back. That's how we know you weren't friends anymore. Slowly, I said, you don't need to thank me. I cared about your wife, and I can't imagine what you and Chris are going through. And I'm really very sorry for you. I paused to think about how I was going to say the next bit. And things did change, but in my heart, Chris will always be my first friend, and I want to be here for him. My wife always knew that you were a good friend to Chris. It's not your responsibility to do any of this, but I would appreciate it if you could stick around. Help him to deal with this, he said as he looked me in the eyes. In retrospect, he was asking a lot from a kid, but I was sympathetic, and even though I felt overwhelmed, I answered, of course. After a pause, I grabbed another taco and a drink and announced, I better take this to Chris and see if he would like to eat a little. He smiled as he looked up at me. Consider yourself at home, mijo. I smiled warmly back at him. Thank you, sir. Excuse me. Hey there, stripper, I said when I walked in on Chris standing there in his black briefs. I thought I would try to make him laugh or at least smile a little, but I ended up startling him. He gave me a weak smile and looked down into his dresser drawer searching for some shorts. I brought you a taco and a soda. Thank you, but I'm not very hungry. I can't even get my head together, he answered as he finished dressing. Do you need to eat something? Have you had anything to eat at all today? I asked him as I put the taco on his dresser. No, not really. I didn't have breakfast this morning. I was in my parents' room talking to my mother, and before I knew it, I had to get going so I wouldn't be late for school. It seems like right after that, I was in the principal's office. I don't get it. We were just laughing this morning. I could tell that she was weak, but she was okay. We knew this day would come. The doctors had already told us that there was nothing else that could be done. It was just so quick, too fast. I stood next to her bed at the hospital trying to think about everything I wanted to tell her before she passed, but my mind was blank. I was filled with anxiety because I knew I would not have another chance, but I didn't say much other than, I love you. That was all I could think of. It was as if the floodgates opened. He spoke quickly, like a man confessing a sin he had been hiding. His eyes were swollen from crying and his spirit was broken. Chris sat there in silence. The tears had stopped, not because the pain was gone, but because he had simply run out of tears. For the first time since I had known him, I didn't see the boy who tried so hard to fit in. I didn't see the one who laughed with the wrong crowd. I didn't even see the bully everyone thought they knew. I saw a son who had just lost his mother. Some losses change a person forever, and although none of us know it then, this would be one of those moments. We'll continue Isaac's story in Chapter 9, Part 2. Thank you for listening to What Would I Do Without You? If you've been enjoying this story, please consider liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing it with someone who enjoys heartfelt coming of age fiction. I'm Sergio Dominguez, and this has been tonight's broadcast, A Place for Stories. Until next time.